Okay, the boys said to me one time, they said, "Are you ever going to finish it?" I said, absolutely not. Not finishing it. What we do is every year we tax on something else that someone has thrown out and makes it better. So why should we stop building it? Never going to finish. What happened years ago, I got my F-150 stuck in a snowbank coming in the road where the snow was blowing off the pond up to the mirrors, and couldn't get in the road. It took me 2 hours to plow to it with a Suzuki Jeep with a hot water boiler on it for a blade. I figured I'd build a loader, and I started off with a chassis that I got from somebody. It already had the axles on it, steering box, and the transfer case, and all that was belonged to a Dodge. It was belonged to a 73 Dodge four-wheel drive pickup truck, and I got a really good deal on it. I wasn't using it anymore, and came out of one of these. This rig out here. So she's nice and heavy duty. Got the big old hubs and stuff on her there, and that sort of thing. I figured we'd start from the front. I was going to build a loader, so I made the cab corners, as you can see, really heavy angle iron. And what I was going to do, I was going to take the hubs off of the car that I took the engine out of and bolt them on up here, and then put arms on them and make a loader. However, things changes. Neighbor out the road was moving, had to get rid of a Cherokee that he had that had this blade on it. Now this is a homemade blade that somebody made. It's not exactly designed overly well, but the good part about it is it was the right price. It was free. He had it on a Cherokee like this here, small Cherokee. So the Jeep wasn't very good. When I brought her home, she cracked in half. So we took the blade off it and rigged the blade out on here, seeing it was free and all, and I didn't have the money to finish this machine at the time, and it made a half a decent way to get the snow out of the driveway, so there was no shoveling. So what we did after that, we got this bit of square stock here, a bit of square tubing that was thrown away out to work out there. They put in a mezzanine and had this as the post to hold them up, and they were too long, so they had some pieces left over. So what I did with that, I just cut it off and joined it together here and rigged it out on a pivot. Now this push bar thing came with the plow. It's not overly heavy duty, but hey, like I say, it was free. And the ram, she did have a winch on her, but the ram came from Princess Auto. And I decided to make her hydraulic because the winch used to keep freezing up on me and didn't really like that much. So I made her hydraulic. And see now, this hose down here, as you can see, going up into the ram, is a hose from a 79 Ford LTD, basically the same as the Crown Vic. And it's the power steering hose, and that is the power steering hose off the first car I ever had. I saved it just in case I'd ever need it. She looked like this, and that is the power steering hose off of her from 1985 when I first got my license. Dating myself here now, but that's what that is. And what we got is right in here. You can see the pulley on this power steering pump. We're using a power steering pump to drive the hydraulics. The power steering pump came off of my father's old truck. It was leaking, so I took it off. Turns out it was only the inlet part that was connected to the reservoir. So I put a piece of copper in there, took out the rusted steel, and she works perfect. So that's all best kind. No shovel in there. What we got is a radiator. Now this radiator here, as you can see, it's an older style radiator. I took this radiator out of my 1987 Suzuki Samurai extended version. Looked like that there. without the big wheels. That is not a Suzuki radiator. That is a radiator that I put in my Suzuki because at the time the wife couldn't drive a standard, and it was easier to change the Jeep to an automatic than it was to change the wife to a standard. So I took an engine and automatic transmission out of a Chevette and put it into her. And this is the Chevette radiator that I took out of Suzuki. The Suzuki, sorry. That works all best call. I never had any trouble with that. What we got up here is a couple of flashy lights. I do have a strobe flasher hooked up to those. So they flick very fast. And they're really bright. I gotta say, I was impressed with how bright they were. Let's see now if we can find where they came from. I'll get in here so you can see. You can see they're yellow. What they are is DeWalt flashlights, DeWalt LED flashlights, like this here. So the switch was gone on them, and they were throwing them out. So I got two, one there, and what I did, I glued on with some caulking there. I glued on some clearance light lenses I had there, and hooked them all up, and they're really bright. So it's great when I goes out on the road there. We don't get ran into. It's bonnet. You see the bonnet there. I'll open her up there now in a second. But that bonnet, I needed something to cover it over. So we got the frame made out of bed rail. Of course, she knows I loves the bed rail from the other videos. And I covered it over with part of a sign. A road sign like this here. They were throwing out the yellow plastic part. So I riveted on the yellow plastic part. And made a bonnet. So we got a couple of house door hinges up on top here, and this here is just a bit of metal X there that I found out to work. That I made it sturdy so she didn't twist, because she was kind of twisty before. And as you can see, our radiator and everything is in there. There's our engine, which I'll go into now in a second. Battery and the hydraulic lines and stuff like that is all in there. No trouble to get at it. Let's see what we got here now. Let's go around to the side. The steering boxes belong to the 073 chassis. We're going to have ourselves some power steering here one of these days, but we haven't quite got around to it yet. So it's what I like to call on the list. This motor is out of a 1992 Geo Metro Suzuki engine. And if any of you guys knows anything about those Suzuki engines, they runs like a top, and doesn't matter. You can leave them shut off for years and start them up again. They runs like wicked. Came out of one like this here. So what we got the engine. There's the engine there, and then we got. Let's see if we can get you down in here. Here is the automatic transmission belong to that engine. And we got the CV shaft coming out of there, and we got it fastened into a bearing going into a standard gearbox, 4-speed gearbox. Now that standard 4-speed gearbox is out of an old 66 Mercury pickup. So I usually just puts that in second and uses the automatic. So she is geared really low, no trouble. You could haul the house up the driveway if you could get traction. This is just the top off of some sort of a gas filler for a car that I don't even remember what it was, which is unusual. I don't think I took it off myself. It might have been just donated. And here is our hydraulic tank. You can see we got our cap in there and a little vent coming out of it. And it goes down, and the return comes out of there. And then we got our supply line for our pump running down into our power steering pump off for pickup down there. So that all works great. There is a flat belt on it, and this thing here is a timing belt tensioner from the Chevette that the radiator came off of. Tightens up the belt for the hydraulics for the blade. So that's all fine and dandy there. Let's see what else we got in here to show you. Well, this hydraulic tank actually was the tank off of a DeWalt compressor, small dwell compressor. We just turned it up on in and cut the frame off it and made it into what we needed. And the same as we does with pretty much everything else that we got to do. And this in here is a fuel filter. I put a gauge on it so I can see the fuel pressure. I got to stand it up there where it's nice and easy to get at and change the filter. That filter is actually out of what they call a Val 6 radiant heater. Runs on diesel or kerosene or whatever, and that's all wicked and stuff. So we got that. We can change that out. I'll keep our fuel clean. And our gas tank is underneath there. The gas tank is actually out of the Suzuki Samurai. Out of her. Out of Suzuki Samurai. But the top of the gas tank, the whole top end of it with the fuel pump rig out and everything on it and all that sort of stuff, came out of the get her focused in here. It came out of this 92 Metro, and then we just welded it into the top. Got her all coated over there right nice and dandy, so she don't leak. And I do have tanks on the side of her, one on either side, basically for symmetry, and I had a couple of extra tanks, so I was like, what was I going to do with them, right? Those tanks there came from a dual stand-up compressor, a D55-168. Eventually planned on putting air brakes on her. It is on D-list, not for this year, I don't think, but we have a few other important things to do, like making our steering a bit easier. But that is the eventual plan for those tanks. And let's see what we got here. Now, I put a door on here. This door is just a bit of steel square tubing from a DeWalt rack that was there. The boys were throwing it out to work, and I said, boys, you can't be at that. So we saved it, and we made that, and we put a bit of plexiglass onto the side of it, or Lexan or whatever it was, and I didn't have a latch. So I went through my collection and I found a doorknob off of an old screen door, storm door. So we got that stuck on there, so that keeps our door shut. And I got a West Coast mirror on here. I do have two of these. Only got one put on so far, but we're getting there. Back to the list again. This up here is a handle, makes it easier getting in because she is 8 feet high. So it's not exactly easy to get in, but that handle actually came off of a prime floor stapler. The prime floor stapler was shot, so we took the handle off it, and it was great because you can just reach up there and grab onto that and give her, right? Okay, let's open up the door. You can see this here is part of that sign that we showed you the picture of earlier. Seat could use a little bit of reupholstery, but you know, if we get around to the list, we'll get that done. It is a really small seat that actually came out of a club cab Ford Ranger in the back. In the club cab Ranger, you got the seat in the back that folds down. So that's what that was. And we just rescued it. It came out of one of these things here. We rescued it and stuck it in there, so I'm going to put a bit of upholstery on that maybe the year now we get around to it. The steering column is from the Metro, as you can see, and the gas pedal, I did away with it. We do need to paint in here, it's getting a bit rusty, but this used to be the gas pedal, but I welded on a knob belonged to God only knows what came out of my knob collection, and all this is by hand. The gear shift here came out of the Metro. So did the instrument panel, although I do have a fuel pressure gauge put where our speedometer was supposed to go. And all these wires down here on the floor are a lot better looking than they used to be. We're starting to straighten them up a bit at a time. They'll eventually be tucked away. Fuse box is also from Metro. Our heater is a heater cord that was donated to me. Don't know what it came out of, some car, and I stuck a computer fan on it. The 12-volt computer fan just to blow the air up on the window. I have no idea now what exactly that came out of, but it definitely works. Here's our gear shift coming up through the floor for our standard gearbox. But like I said, usually just leaves that in second. The transfer case. The transfer case, as I told you, was out of the original chassis, which would be the 3/4 ton Dodge. And see if we can get over here where we can see it. Oh, there we are. Down there is the transfer case. I got the transfer case locked in for law permanently. Just leaves it in there. Don't take it out of it. No need. They're just plowing the driveway. Now I'm gonna unhook. Yes, I do have a piece of welding blanket. I was making up something to cover the engine here to kind of keep the snow off it. And okay, now and there you'll see the alternator. Oh, there you go. The alternator. That alternator do not belong to that Suzuki engine. That alternator is actually belonged to a car that the daughter had. It was her first car. It was a piece of junk. It was a, let me see now. There she is. Chevy Aveo. Got it. The motor was shot. I had another motor in it, but I did have an alternator left over. So I put the alternator on this one. Just made it fit on there, and like we does with everything else, and way to go. I know this video might be getting a little bit long for some of you guys, but some people have been asking me to do this one for a while, so I figured we'd get her done. We do have a light bar up there. There's like a ball of fire in front of her on the road because I got it to adjust it down. And that there's a resonator off a car and a pipe with a little flipper on it like you'd have on a tractor. Stop the water from getting in there, like you would. And let's see now. Close the old lower. These pieces of stuff here is belong to an old sign. Most everything you see here is just stuff people was throwing out, or pretty cheap anyway. Now this here, looks kind of untidy at the moment. This here is an engine and transmission. Belonged to a Caliber, a Dodge Caliber. Now, I guess you're probably wondering why I do have an engine and transmission belong to a Dodge Caliber on the back. It's because I had planned to, you can see it over there in the yard, that big snowblower I had planned on putting on the front of her. And I wanted something to turn it. So I figured this little engine I got up in the front there is busy enough already. So what I do is I put the engine on the back, and I'm going to run a shaft up underneath, right up here. I'm going to take the blade off, put the snowblower on. I just got these tacked on here for now, but this is going to be the mounts for the snowblower. So we'll run the shaft up, and then we'll have it so we can start up the extra engine. The engine belonged to the Dodge Caliber that looked like this here. Same color and everything. And we're going to put the ignition and everything inside so we can start her up. And caught her in there. I got to make a hood over. Hadn't got around to that yet. I did have a tank full of rocks on the back. I took that off. And we're going to give that a shot and see how far we can throw snow. I believe it was a 40 horsepower tractor that snowblower was on, and this is 153 horsepower, I do believe. So I'm thinking I will warn the neighbors when I'm out blowing snow. They could probably put a bit of plywood over their windows or something. I do have these rims here. These are actually Ford rims on a Dodge. I didn't have to tweak them too much. They were pretty close. And I stuck a bit of chain through there just to give us a bit of extra traction. And I did weld up the Dodge rear end. So she's a permanent posi, and welded a little spout coming up there because she's on a bit more of an angle than she's supposed to. Bicycle reflectors. I mean, who throws out bicycle reflectors, right? Yes, nothing wrong with them. And this here square tubing that I got the mount made up for the engine, that all came off of the back end of a work truck. That was the rack in the work truck. And like various bits of angle iron and foolishness like that on her. And this bumper here, yeah, as you can see, it's a piece of channel iron, and I do have the seal beam taillights put into her, and there is a trailer hitch welded on it. This bumper I did have on that Suzuki, the Suzuki Samurai, and I didn't actually make it. It was made by a friend of mine who died years ago, and he had it on his Suzuki. So we got her hooked onto this one now. Good solid bumper. Don't matter what you slams into with that one. Nice hitch on it there. You want to tow on it, haul anything around the yard, that sort of thing. What we got here, we did have to shorten the chassis. This chassis is way shorter than it's supposed to be. This spot here, where you see the shackles is to, is actually the curve in the chassis that used to go up over the axle. The axle was back here somewhere. We got it all moved and made up a hanger there out of a bit of metal someone was throwing out. The shackles here, I don't know if you recognize them, and the pin actually, is actually the bucket links off of a Kubota excavator. They are these links right here that links the bucket, so the bucket can swivel. That's what those are. I got them, they're nice and heavy. They were going to throw them out there. They replaced them, put on a new set, and I said, well, you can't throw out that, so we went to a lot of trouble to make them. So I figured I'd rescue them, and I did. Another bicycle reflector on this side. So, like I say, we're never going to finish it. Every year we're going to add something. And one of these days, when I drops dead, someone will be stuck with it. And maybe they won't have the shovel. Throw it out? No, bye.